It's only a game. Why you have to be mad?
What is up, heroes of Dominion? My name is Charlie. This is Hero War Central, and I want to talk to you real quick about the Guild Raid Phase 1 attacks that you did not successfully complete. This is the first week that I've been able to record a video like this, so I thought I would take this opportunity to cut this video free to watch, maybe if you just don't know. If you take a look at this boss fight right here, you can see that I almost defeated Naos the Doom Herald. This guy's kind of tough, takes out the back line with a lot of really fast, really big damage, and defeating him earns you these rewards. And these are all great, right? 6,900 of the star mana, some of the valor emblems, but you also get this right here, the guild morale. Now, all of this is great, right? This is all fantastic for you, right? Having all of these resources to ascend your heroes is absolutely ideal. But today, I was given another boss fight. The same rewards, right? I have one attack left. So you might be asking yourself, maybe it might be better to go ahead and use this one attack to guarantee defeat this boss. If I go in to fight this boss at full health, I might not defeat this boss and we'll end up with two partially defeated bosses. Well, I'm here to tell you that you should absolutely attack the full health boss. The reason why is because even though I didn't fully defeat Naos the Doom Herald, I did receive 41 out of 52 of the guild morale. I didn't get all of the rewards, which is going to slow my personal progression. But when it comes to the guild's progression, the guild morale, it's going to be better for me to attack Meridia, Goddess of Oblivion, to try to get 30, 40, maybe even all 52 of this guild morale to help my guild's overall effectiveness against the boss when phase 2 goes live Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we'll just real quick jump in here and fight this guy. It looks like I might actually not clear this, but that's okay. That's okay. This is going to happen, guys. Occasionally, your guild is going to set the difficulty a little bit too high, but you can see here, even though I only had the one attack left and I didn't get either of these resources for completing this boss fight, I still received 46 more guild morale as opposed to just 11 more. So it's kind of debatable on which one is more effective, increasing your personal ascension on your heroes or increasing the overall effectiveness against the boss. In my opinion, I'm more of a team player. I think in the long run, beating these little subminions and getting the rewards will be more effective for you and thus eventually be more effective for the guild. But as far as the short term, I think this is the ideal. You may absolutely disagree. This is just my opinion. Thought I would share it with you today. And while we're here, I thought that I would quickly touch on the buffs for this week. If you're still not sure which buffs to get, there's a lot of talk about the different potent buffs that you should be getting. In my opinion, the buff that everybody's sleeping on is this Keeper's Blessing for 50 of this Valor emblem. When Ash the Eternal Keeper awakens, the hero that dealt the most damage before the Planet Parade began will gain 10% more stats. Now, the reason why I like this buff so much is because the now well-vetted Isaac, Zhu, Nebula, Sebastian, Martha team that people use against the boss fights, Sebastian is going to get a ton of stats if he ends up being the one doing the most damage. It's just going to further increase the pure damage and critical hit rating that he gives to his allies. If it ends up being Zhu getting the 10% bonus, that's pretty effective as well, since all of his attacks are just his basic auto attack, which is based on his physical attack. The more agility, the more strength that he gets, the higher each basic attack is. If Isaac is the one that gets the buff, which he very likely could be, then his bonus attack to his allies is going to be increased. His damage output from his Violet ability is going to be increased. And of course, his basic attack damage will go up as well. So I think that while Healing Converter is possibly one of the best, if not the best buffs, I think that people should consider Keeper's Blessing as absolutely number 1 or number 2 as well. Beyond that, I tend to steer clear of these buffs that are only effective whenever you have multiple of the same tribe in them. The Wakeful Undead, the Ingenious Engineers, the Resilient Grove Keepers. I feel like that there aren't very effective tribe teams out there as far as the high-level boss fights. Of course, I haven't defeated any of the 140, 150, or the 160 boss fights, so what do I know? Astral Shield, Healing Converter, Keeper's Blessing. I think Mage's Vigilance is going to be really strong as well if you have a lot of mages in your team, which the main boss fighting team does not. However, there are 4 other teams that will be attacking the boss, so if you use a mage team primarily, or your second, and third, fourth, fifth teams are heavy mage teams, you might want to consider this. Insomnia is a good buff this week for relatively an inexpensive cost. However, if you end up getting 4 nightmares, you're probably going to lose the boss fight anyway. For the gold buffs, a lot of people are saying not to take this jump start. I feel like it is worth taking. There's only one team of the 5 teams that you're going to use to attack the boss that has Sebastian in it. The bonus energy gain for everybody else is still pretty strong at the cost of maybe a little bit less effectiveness on your initial attack with that Isaac, Zhu, Nebula, Sebastian, Martha team. I also recommend buying all the rest of these just for whatever reason. It's just gold. You know, if you can afford it, then you should buy it. For the epic buffs, I really like Chosen by the Stars in this week the most. All healers gain additional healing for 10 seconds. Pretty effective whenever you combine it with the healing converter. These other buffs I'm not a huge fan of. Anything that has to do with nightmares I don't like. If you're having to deal with nightmares, if you're trying to clean up after you're dealing with the defensive spheres, I feel like you've already lost the fight. There may be some strategies in the future where you just let the defensive spheres expire in favor of the nightmares spawning. I just don't know what that is. Stellar Tank Resilience would be a decent one. However, the main team does not use a tank. Isaac is your tank and he's not a tank. This only works for tank roles, not heroes that are acting as a tank, so I don't like this one at all. Immortal Hero is probably the only other epic buff that I would purchase aside from Chosen by the Stars this week. And as far as rare buffs go, I already told you how I feel about Resilient Grove Keepers. Marksman's Opportunity is pretty strong, considering that Zhu is one of the primary damage dealers in your first lineup. I know that personally I'm going to be trying out Artemis once I get her up to a high enough level to try, so I like using this one as well. This one would also be really good. Destroying a defensive sphere gains 3% energy to the hero that deals the final hit, and I would prefer this one to Marksman's Opportunity this week. However, since generally speaking it's going to be Isaac defeating those defensive spheres, and Isaac does not use energy, he uses charge, I don't think this buff actually will work for your main team. It will of course work for teams 2, 3, 4, and 5 pretty effectively, as will several other of these buffs, but I just don't like this buff. If the primary team that we used that also happened to deal the most damage to the defensive spheres did not use charge, or in the case of Astrid and Lucas, for example, her rage, then this would be a fantastic buff. Dreamer's Retaliation doing extra damage versus nightmares. Again, if you're dealing with nightmares, I feel like you've already lost the fight. Same goes with Nightmare's Energy. While this would be a great use of the Valor emblems, gaining an extra 20% energy whenever a Nightmare Vision is spawned, in case you are spawning those visions, I just don't think that the 100 trophies here are the way to go. Obviously, the number of Valor emblems is going to be different from all of you. Some of you are going to be getting much less. Some of you are going to be getting much more. But those are my suggested buffs for this week. The week that Phase 2, the boss phase, starts Friday, November 3rd. I love you all. Good luck in Dominion.